Hi, my name is Michelle Diassi, and I'm here to talk to you a little about the preliminary steps of market analysis. Today, my goal is to give you a few tips and tricks to get through the preliminary stages. This way, when you finally go to get a consultation, you'll already have enough information on your site that you know that it has a chance of being successful. Some of the things that we are going to overview today are how to define your market, whether it's a primary, secondary, or rural market, how to locate your competitors, and how to estimate the size of your competition. Now, in order to define your market, you need to put yourself in the place of the consumer. The distance that a consumer will drive to accomplish their day-to-day activities is about the same distance that they're going to drive to rent for storage. You want to be in the same path as they're going to their dry cleaners, their grocery store, the schools that they're dropping their kids off at. This is the path that they're going to be used to on their day-to-day activities. They're going to use those same choices to choose their McDonald's, to rent storage, to anything that they would have to do during their day. Now, the average distance that they will drive increases the further they get away from the inner city. So if you're out in the suburban areas, the distance that someone will drive to go to the grocery store will be much bigger than they would if they were driving in the heart of Tempe, Arizona. Now we're going to talk about identifying your market type. As I said earlier, we're going to talk about the primary, secondary, and rural markets. Now your first example would be a primary market. This would be most metropolitan areas. One example of this would be Tempe, Arizona. Now, in the heart of Tempe, Arizona, there's going to be a lot of traffic and a lot of stoplights. So we're only going to extend out to about a 3-mile radius. Within this 3-mile radius, and in most metropolitan areas, there should be about 100,000 people or more. In a secondary market, this would be most of your suburban areas. An example of this would be Northside San Antonio. This has a lot of suburbs, a lot of small communities, everything's spread out a little bit more, so you can extend your radius out to about 5 miles. Your average consumer will drive anywhere from 3 to 5 miles for their grocery store, all the things that we had spoken about earlier. Now, in this 5-mile radius, there should be about 80,000 people. That's how you'll know you're in a secondary market. Now, the third type of market is a rural market. An example of this would be Bulverde, Texas. Bulverde is located on the north side of San Antonio, north of the area we had just seen. This is a small town that the consumer will have to drive anywhere from 7 to 10 miles to find their local grocery store. Generally, in these areas, you want to look for about 30,000 people in a 7-mile radius. And 7 miles is just a minimum. You can go anywhere out from 10 to 15 miles. However far you need to go to find your consumers that you will need to access your facility. It also depends on how many competitors, but we're going to get to that more later. Now I'm going to show you just an example of how I do my research. The program that I'll be showing you is Google Earth Pro. Now in Google Earth Pro, this is my preference for a program because it allows me to draw radiuses and it allows you to search within the program, and it's for a very reasonable price. You can buy Google Earth Pro for $400 from the Google Earth website. Right now what I'm doing is I'm going to go ahead and locate the site that we're going to be looking at. Today it's in Clermont, Florida. We're going to find that this is going to be a secondary market. And as we had discussed before, in secondary markets, we're going to go ahead and draw our radius out to about 5 miles. Right now, I'm just going to go ahead and put in the potential site. The bar that you see on the left is kind of like your save as bar. Anything that you keep in that bar where it says places, you're going to go ahead, anything you put there will automatically save. Here, you see that I've already marked our potential site. It's at the corner of Highway 50 and Hancock Road. Now the first step that you're going to want to take is you're going to want to plot all of your competition. As I said before, Google Earth does allow you to do this within the program. You can also use Google Maps, MapQuest, Yahoo Maps, Live Search Maps, or MapsGo. Now all of the following were internet-based programs except for MapsGo, which is a book of just maps. Now, as we were talking about earlier, you're going to want to draw radiuses. In order to get the most accurate definition of your market, you're going to have to draw 3 radiuses. Your outermost radius being the one that we spoke about earlier, either the 3, the 5, or the 7. So in the primary market, you're going to draw a 1, 2, and 3 mile radius. secondary, a 1, 3, and 5 mile radius, and a rural market, a 3, 5, and 7 mile radius. Now in your virtual research, like I said earlier, you can use a program such as Google Earth Pro that actually enables you to draw the radius. Now if you just want to get the free version of Google Earth, you can do all of the searching that I just talked about, you can place all your competitors, and you can do most of what I'll be showing you today, but you cannot draw the radius, among several other things, but the radius is the most important for our purposes. And the last one was the MapSco book that I referenced. You can do manual research. Basically, what you're going to have to do is just take a compass and physically draw a radius on the map. And then you can plot each of your competitors with a sticker or a tack or anything that will simply mark it. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how to draw your radius. You can see I'm going back up to the ruler icon, and now I'm going to just click on the area and draw out. Now I'm going to keep drawing until I see that I've reached 5 miles. I will know that by looking in the box up to the left. I'm going to go ahead and show you that in just a second. So you can see it says 5 miles right here. And if you look to the left, it says radius. You also have to be under the circled tab. Now, when you X out of that box, that will make sure that the radius stays in place. If you do not X out of that box, every time you click your mouse, you will draw a new radius. Now, the next step is to eliminate the competitors that are outside of your market. What I'm going to do now is go up to Find Businesses and type in storage. As you can see, several competitors show up, some of which are inside of our 5 mile radius that we drew, and some are outside. The ones that are outside the 5 mile radius are considerably outside, and there's no way that they're going to be in our market, as they're in an entirely different city. They're in the city of Ocoee. So we're going to go ahead and delete those. You do that by right-clicking on them and clicking delete. Now that you've eliminated the competitors outside your market, you're going to want to cross-reference your competitors that Google Earth already placed with other sources. As much as I would love to say that Google is infallible, it's not. And so what you're going to want to do is check them on Google. You can cross-reference with MapQuest, with Live Maps, with US Storage Search, or the Yellow Pages. Now here you can see I'm going to go ahead and pull up MapQuest.com. And in the top box where it says Find a Business, I'm going to type storage. Address would be the intersection that we have our site at, Hancock Road and State Road 50, or Highway 50, in Clermont, Florida. Now it's going to go ahead and pull up our map along with the competitors. Our first one that you can see is Personal Mini Storage, followed by Heritage Square Boat and RV, and Safety Storage 2, and so on and so forth. We're going to go ahead and check Personal Mini Storage. Okay? I'm just going to highlight the address, copy it, and then go back over to Google Earth. I'm going to click on my Fly To tab at the top left and just paste that address. After clicking Search, Google Earth will automatically fly to the location of that address. As you can see, it's a little off, which is one of the reasons that you need to double check. But we're going to go ahead and move that over to where we can see a storage facility lies just to the east. And make sure that we mark that so that we can save it in our Save As or My Places folder. I'm just going to go ahead and copy over all the information so that later when I'm actually calling competitors, I don't have to go back and research. So I'm just going to paste it to the description and take the name to use it to identify the marker. As you can see, when I click on the icon, all of that information is stored in the little bubble. Now that you've cross-referenced with all the other sources, you're going to want to go back and, like I said before, double check to make sure you don't have any misplacements or duplicates. As you saw earlier, Google Earth placed the location probably about a quarter mile to the west of where it actually belonged. So now we're going to go ahead and check. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in to just an example where it says Greater Mini Storage -50. Make sure, as you can see, there's no storage facility there. Now, don't always rely on this for your first instinct. You need to probably check that with the addresses like we're doing right now. Just because I don't see a storage facility there doesn't mean it's not there. Unfortunately, the Google aerials aren't as up to date as I would like them to be. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and take us to Live Maps. The address is maps.live.com. I'm going to paste the address that was given to us by Greater Mini, and I'm going to go ahead and find the location. As you can see here, there is a facility where it was located. So we had that icon in the wrong place, or rather Google Earth did. What we're going to do is look for close cross streets. As you can see, it's Greater Hills Boulevard and Highway 50. So we're going to look for that cross street because that does not look like the aerial that we have here. So after looking up Greater Hills Boulevard, go ahead and go to South Greater Hills Boulevard. And lo and behold, there's our competitor. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom out and move the marker that we had placed for Greater Hills down onto Highway 50. Now this may be looking a little familiar to some of you. Let's find out why. This is the exact location that we just found. Google Earth did not have it in the right place, which is why we didn't see it earlier. So we're going to go ahead and delete Greater Mini Storage as it was bought out by Personal Mini. Now that you've found the location of all your competitors, it's time to estimate their sizes. Now this can be found in many different ways, the first of which would be on the county property appraiser's website. This will be the most accurate way that you can find out how many square feet your competitor has. Now as you can see, they're separated out into commercial and warehouse. The commercial building is the retail center, so we're not going to count that in our studies. But as you can see under the warehouse, it's listed under gross square footage how much each individual building has square feet wise. This is, like I said, the most accurate way to identify how big your competitors are. Now we're going to go ahead and zoom into the one we found earlier, Personal Mini Storage. We're going to go ahead and copy the address, just the street address for now, and go to Internet Explorer. Now I'm going to go ahead and take us to Google. And being that our site is located in Lake County, I'm going to look for the Lake County Property Appraiser website. As you can see, it's located at the top. Now right now you're going to look for something called either property search or record search or anything with the word search in it. What you're looking for is an address search because that's the only information that we have right now. So right there where it says street, I'm going to go ahead and paste the address and press search. Now, as you can see, we have two cards to look at. The first card that we're going to look at says that it's vacant land. Obviously, we know that the land's not vacant. So this isn't necessarily the one we're looking for. But we're going to go ahead and click on miscellaneous improvements just to check. It says there is no improvement information to display. The improvement is what you're looking for. It is the building itself. So we're going to go to the second card. On the second card, you can see that we have warehousing. Obviously, this is the correct card. And there's that 4800 number that I had told you about earlier. You can see our first building with a sketch and the square footage information located at the top where it says ground floor area. This building is 18,000 square feet. Now, as we scroll below, we'll see that we have more buildings. This one is 6,116 square feet. Now, something else to note would be that on building 1, under AC, it's listed yes. This is a great indication as to whether or not the building is climate controlled. Obviously, the first and second building are climate controlled. Now here we have 8,520 square feet. It is not a climate controlled building. Now, not all websites are as nice as this one, but this is a good example of how you can use this information to your benefit. As you can see, just scrolling through the rest of the buildings, And there's that 48C number to make sure that that building itself is in fact warehouse. This one is 11,825 and 7,200 in warehousing by the 48C. Now, this select building is one I wanted to show you so that you are sure not to confuse yourself. As you can see, it's labeled 50C and 17C. These buildings are retail. These are not the buildings you should include in your study. Now, another way that you can find the information that you need on how big your buildings are is to manually measure the building sizes on Google Earth Pro. This is another feature that I have found invaluable with Google Earth Pro. This is something that is not available on Google Earth or Google Earth Plus. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to measure the buildings. We're going to zoom into the building right in the middle, and I'm going to go back to my ruler bar. This time, I'm going to be using the tag labeled polygon. We're going to set our area to square feet, and we're going to place each of the corners. Here we have the top left, bottom left, and just kind of going around. Now, the more you do this, the better you get at identifying the edges. Now, a lot of people will ask me, yeah, okay, I can measure, but how accurate is that really? I'm going to go ahead and show you. As you can see, we have it listed as 11,910 square feet. Let's compare this with the property records that we just saw. I'm going to scroll up to find that building, or one that looks like it's about the same shape. As you can see, this one's measured at 11,825, only an 85 square foot difference between what we found on Google Earth. Now, it is 85 square feet off, but this is incredibly better than you can do just guesstimating. Now, the last way that you can find out how big a facility is to actually go and visit the facility and count the doors. Or, if available, you can use the bird's eye view on live maps. Here, we're going to go ahead and look at a different facility. We're going to look at Florida Discount Self-Storage. Now, it's important for you to remember what this facility looks like on this aerial. I'm also going to give you an example of why it's a good practice to check more than one source. As you can see, it's a normal storage facility with some RV boat in the back. Now, I'm going to go ahead and show you the same facility on live maps. I'm going to take the address and copy the whole address because we're going to search for it and put it in the search bar up above. Now, as we zoom in, you can also see that Live Maps didn't get it right on the money. Nonetheless, you can see that we have the same project, but look, some of the RV boat in the back is gone. It's been replaced with two buildings. This was probably added in the second or third phase of the project. As you can see, those outer two rows of RV boat have been replaced with these two buildings. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you the bird's eye view. This is one of the greatest discoveries I have made since my employment with the Parham Group. Live Maps has gone and photographed several angles of different locations, mostly metropolitan areas, but you have some secondary areas. Here you can see you have some taller storage facilities to your right, and you have the ability to count the storage facilities, count the doors of the storage facilities. Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 doors. The average door signifies a 10-foot wide space. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn it to the east and take a look at about how wide it is. Now, you can see that it's about 3 doors wide, basing it from the building on the left, which would mean it's 30 feet wide times 150 feet long, which gives you about a 4,500 square foot building. Again, this isn't as accurate as the other ones, but it will give you somewhat of a reading. Here you can also see that this facility was still under construction when the photograph was taken. Another great indicator. You can use, like I said, you can use Google Earth Maps, which aerials update every so often, probably about once a year. or you can use live maps, and there's several other aerials that you can use. Now, I've shown you a few ways that you can not only identify where your competitors are located, what type of market you're in, but also how to measure and estimate the sizes. I want to thank you for tuning into this webinar, and I encourage you to purchase the next one in the series, which is on supply and demand. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me at michelle@noaasgp.com. Thank you.